Well, hello there, Steve.
Hello, how are you?
I am good. How are you?
I'm doing well. How about you? Well, I had an echo here, so okay, now I'm with it.
Oh,
I had
okay.
the stream running in the background, and I always get confused when I do that.
Well, we have Steve or we have Nick with us in spirit up in the corner here. He might drop by, but he he is with his kids right now, so um, we'll probably just leave him alone.
Yeah, if he gets a chance, he might pipe in once or twice. We always welcome his input.
Yeah.
Requires my
It
kids
is
to be
nicer
quiet
when
and
there's three of
bleed
us.
out right now. My kids are loud as hell right now, so probably not. All right, guys, have fun.
Will do.
Yep. Well, why don't we jump right in? This stream is a continuation of the stream we did last Monday. And we went through the four horsemen that was developed by John Gottman in the course of, his research about the causes of divorce. He also does some marriage counseling. And we went through these four items here and what he believes the antidotes, but we kind of said, yeah, they're not going to work. And in last Monday's stream, I think in a previous going through it, criticism and contempt are the two main things, and defensiveness flows from the criticism, and the stonewalling flows from the contempt. So, if you're at all familiar with math, uh, I would say defensiveness is a derivative of criticism or an outflow of or is caused by criticism. And stonewalling is a derivative of contempt. Or when contempt is present, it leads to stonewalling. So those are more actions. So the four horsemen really could be uh, just distilled down to two: criticism and contempt. You follow me, Plutarch?
Oh yeah, and I don't disagree. What I think we agreed in the last stream that defensiveness is probably the easiest one, with the to counter with the accept responsibility antidote. I think that's what we talked about. Physiological self-soothing, I think, is a bunch of hokum. Uh, build culture of appreciation. Honestly, you're probably just gonna gas up their egos doing that, like. And with criticism, talk about your feelings. Look, if women wanted to hear your feelings, they wouldn't be criticizing you to start with.
So I think that's enough on that. I'm going to bring up another one. Okay. This is something I came up with when I started going through the divorce process. I actually wrote a letter to my wife who was divorcing me. Kind of went through this, but did you think it did any good at all? Did it open communications? did it help to explain anything? Was there any positive outcome at all? You want to guess?
I think it just convinced her that she made the right choice.
Oh, okay. So I like threes. I like to distill things down to 3 items. Have you figured that out about me? I came up with that acronym. What do men want? RSVP. Oh, it sounds like 4. No, it's 3. From women, they want respect, sexual variety, and peace. Okay,
And your IPA.
and IPA, yeah. Women have guilt over infidelity, promiscuity, abortion. Okay, so, come up with 3 things because it just seems like 3 is an easy number or easy number of things to remember.
Sure.
So, in a good marriage, what do you have? I mean, I guess love is assumed. You could throw love in here, but that's kind of assumed, at least in my mind.
I would say that that's a derivative of other factors. Love is a derivative of respect.
Yeah, and I didn't put respect in here. Don't know
Uh-oh.
why. Maybe it should be in here. Maybe you could, but the 3 I chose was commitment, trust, and calm. Well, maybe you should replace that commitment. Maybe that's really respect that I'm talking about.
Are you saying that you could build respect out of these 3 components?
I don't know. This is a work in progress. I mean,
Okay.
it's not a fully baked idea, but you come up with what are the 3 essential components that lead to a lasting marriage. Maybe we should replace them with respect, sexual variety, and peace. Because if you respect somebody, you trust them, and you're committed to them. I don't know. Whatever the 3 are. But the focus of this is on what happens in divorce.
Okay. A little more
So,
complicated over there.
yeah. I mean, I put 3 things in there. And these are the 3 that matched for me. And I kind of took some of this thought from John Gottman. Some of this thought came from my red pill knowledge or manosphere knowledge, and some of it came from my Christian studies. So, I don't know if anybody else has talked about identifying this factor of rebellion. Everyone else talks about hypergamy is the reason leads to women asking for a divorce. And it can be, but I think rebellion is more accurate in a lot of cases. So that's why I put that in there. Contempt, I got that one from Gottman, and man, did I feel that contempt in the days uh, before the separation and all that. In the last few discussions, you could just feel the contempt because nothing you said made a dent. There was contempt is really the absolute opposite of respect. There is zero respect. And you go to what, Ephesians 5? what's the command? Men are to love their wives, and women are to respect their husbands. Okay, she's not respecting you. She's probably showing contempt. But then, okay, it's a cycle here. And then I came up with these other words. I have criticism down at the bottom. But, okay, let's start out at emotion. Women have emotional thinking. They're not dealing in facts and logic, so it's basically feeling. These are all kind of feelings here. So if you start out with emotional thinking, you're in your emotions, and then you start rationalizing. You can rationalize anything. So you rationalize, and then, now you can have contempt because you've rationalized the reason for the contempt. From the contempt, you can go down, and now you can justify doing whatever you want to do and rebellion. And if you're in rebellion, you're going to have a lot of criticism, and that's going to emotionally spiral into emotional thinking. Or you can take the other way around here. You start with emotional thinking, and then you can just start criticizing your husband. Well, now you're not following his lead. You're upsetting the order, the hierarchy. So basically, that's rebellion. And now, because you're in rebellion, you're justifying that I needed to do that. So now you have contempt for the guy. And since you're contemptuous, you can rationalize that into justifying the original thinking, emotional thinking that led you into this cycle in the first place. And this goes around and around and around in a circle. It's kind of like a spiral. Maybe it's like swirling the drain.
Well, what I think is interesting about this, I mean, and a spiral, I think is a good metaphor here, is this idea that you can manufacture contempt. And I think it's something that we don't think about enough when we are talking about women and men in general. We can, if like, so in the red pill, we say, rational thinking, we want to be facts oriented, right? All these things. What we're actually really trying to do is short circuit this loop, for at least for us as men. We're trying to say, well, if you think emotionally, you can rationalize contempt. If you think emotionally, you can criticize other people unfairly or unnecessarily. And this is why, going back to Thor's recent stream on beefs, you can sit there and wind yourself up, and if the other person emotionally plays into it, you can create a death spiral amongst the two people. Like, and this is what. Go ahead.
Hey, notice you said two words. It can wind you up and clockwise, and then you go into a death spiral, counterclockwise. And I have both clockwise and counterclockwise here. It is cyclical. And yeah, okay, I did develop this with trying to understand the thought process of women. Yeah, and I haven't spent a lot of time to figure out how it applies to men, but I will say usually these things do apply to both men and women differently, maybe to a greater or lesser extent, but they're still present.
Well, the reason I brought up men is because I see so much emotional thinking in men these days, And if you look at this chart, you can see how all these men are blowing up all these relationships. Maybe the men don't use relationship rebellion as much. I'm not saying that men aren't rebellious, they just express it differently. But every human is just as capable of contempt. Like there's no differentiation of like women are more contemptuous or men are. No, we're all pretty good at it because we want to
Yeah.
hate things. It makes us feel good. And emotional thinking, and if you can rationalize the contempt with emotional thinking, then you can sit there and just doom loop on yourself about how good you are for hating this person, how right you are. And it's part of what makes beefing so dangerous, but also it's why beefing creates such great engagement in streams because other people get to feel that contempt, they get to feel that emotion, but they can say, well, I wasn't involved in that myself. I didn't start the beef. I didn't do any of that, but I got to, but I could watch it happen and I could pick a side and I could feel good. I could rationalize it. I could criticize the whoever my, the opponent of whoever my side is, and I could justify it and by saying, well, but this person I trust said that other person is a horrible person.
But that beefing is really a divorce.
Yes, sir.
Lesser divorce with a small d. Because many times those people used to work together or work in parallel and have mutual respect and whatnot. Now something happens, and now we are not in agreement. And now we are fighting each other. And they're bad and I'm good. And you pick a side. It's the same dynamics as divorce.
Well, I think that's why it's so important to short circuit that and say, hey, wait a minute. We shouldn't be beefing. We actually agree on a lot of things. We got into our emotions a little bit and we need to pull ourselves out of that. And I think that's going back to Thor's stream. He's talking about, he basically just said, if somebody, the best way to deal with beef is don't engage with it. If you're a creator and somebody has an issue with you, you ignore it. Why? Because they might doom loop. You can't control them, but you can control yourself. We can only control our own behaviors. So if we don't doom loop, well, they're going to go off and do whatever they want, but eventually it'll sputter out. It won't matter anymore. It goes away because at least in the public space, the drama it requires both parties to feed it. And if one party won't feed it, then it just kind of goes away over time. And that I think was Thor's point, is that if you don't feed it, it goes away. And I wonder if that applies to. I don't think it applies to marriages the same way, because if you ignore your
Okay. Well, let me go kind of keep with that, but explain it differently.
Okay.
We look at that spiral there, or that cycle. You can't really get rid of contempt. You feel contempt for a person, you can't really just say, okay, I'm going to stop. And I don't think you can rationally think yourself out of emotional thinking, nor can you rationally get yourself out of rebellion. But you can stop justifying your actions.
Okay.
You can stop rationalizing, and you can stop criticizing. So how do you end the beef? How do you break the cycle? Stop one of those actions, those little words in the middle that take you from the corners on the side. Do something on the sides of the triangle. Does that make any sense?
It does. And what I would say is looking at it from my experience, the criticism is the easiest to stop because that's the public that's the external manifestation of that. Justification and rationalization are primarily done in the minds of the participants, but criticism is given back and forth, right? And again,
Yeah.
I think this is kind of what Thor was getting at was if you don't criticize them back, then they're not going to be, they might continue to criticize you, but when they see you not responding, they're going to go, well, now what?
Yeah, it's kind of like the fight between two men. And if you dodge their punches, they're just swinging at air. Pretty soon they get tired. Say, "Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You just don't engage. They expend all their energy trying to engage with you, and you're not. One,
Now,
you're not acting like a coward and running away. You know what I mean?
right.
It's kind of to this, but it's a metaphor.
Oh, okay. Now this is a comment I got to pull up. This is from my wife, but it's a question, and I think it's a good question. Are you saying that if the church stopped criticizing men, it would start solving a problem? I don't know if it would start solving the problem, but it would open the door to having a constructive conversation. See, criticism is not just emotional, but it's really an attempt to tear the other person down. Well, you're just a horrible person because you believe this and that. Okay, that's great. What should I do instead?
Yeah, the criticism in the church, the criticism of men in the church, there needs to be some of that.
Sure.
But when it's solely focused on the men, they are the focus of all the problems. And it's this false belief. If we fix men, we fix society. Well, yeah, kinda, yes, but you can't get there from here.
Well, it's goes back to the agency problem. It's saying, oh well, if I
Right.
just that's just saying, oh, if I just fix men, that'll fix all problems. Sorry, no, that you're ignoring 50% of the world's population. Try again. That argument is relatively easily defeated. That doesn't mean they won't try to make that argument. And good Lord, have we dealt with a lot of
Well,
Christians in this space who do.
there are three things there: men, women, government. Call it society, call it whatever the external force is. In marriage, modern marriage is a three-way contract: man, woman, government. Christians think it's man, woman, God. Not really. Not in practice. Not when you have to get a marriage license. Not after you've gone through divorce court. You realize God is nowhere to be found in your divorce. And the
Absolutely.
church is not representing God or anybody else. They just say, oh, okay, out of our hands. Go to the state, get your divorce. Not my problem. So, yeah, it's three ways. So you can't just fix men. Think you're going to do it. You can maybe fix men and government, or you can fix men and women. You don't necessarily have to fix all three, but you do have to fix two of the three. So if you get a covenantal marriage, not under the state, hey, the state's not in there. You took them out of the picture. You've kind of fixed man and woman. I mean, we are developing these thoughts live here. I'm not
we
saying
are.
my thoughts are well thought out or airtight or any of that. But okay, let's take an aside here.
Okay.
We've been in the red pill. I've been on the red pill for a long time. What does the red pill say about the reasons for divorce or the thought process of what's going on in a woman's mind when she chooses to divorce? And what is the body of thought about the reasons?
Well, the hypergamy is, of course, a container word that can mean a lot of different reasons, but it's generally, women found a better guy. That's one reason. Uh, Another reason is that she could have lost interest in the guy for whatever reason. It could be physical fitness, it could be financial calamity, right? There's, and
Okay.
then so that there's, something happened to the guy. Uh, you got more? Are
No,
you
but
looking for?
that's my point. It's hypergamy, or she just lost her desire or respect. That's women for you. That's, to my knowledge, okay, I'm probably oversimplifying, but really, to my knowledge, that's as far as the red pill guys have gone into this topic. And no one to this point has really developed a coherent cycle of what's going on. I mean, way back in the day, early red pill, we talked about the rationalization cycle, the rationalization hamster in a woman's mind. Just spins around, comes up with reasons. Okay, we all, as red pill guys, we all know women think emotionally, not so much factually. So facts don't much matter. And you can't convince a woman to give up her emotionally derived conclusions by presenting facts. We all know that. But nobody's taken these women behavioral things that we believe, brought them into the divorce cycle and what goes wrong in a relationship. On the positive side, we've said, well, you got to have game and you got to lead her and you got to be dominant. And, all these good aspects on one side and the bad aspects of women on the other side. And somehow, if there's still this concept, man is not dominant in leading, and you don't have the proper hierarchy, patriarchy, then she's going to be hypergamous and rationalize in emotional thinking and lose respect for him and leave. It's really kind of simplistic, isn't it? I mean, none of that is wrong, but it is kind of simplistic, right?
Are you simplistic, or are you really saying more insufficient or incomplete? Like,
Yeah, I guess so. And,
well,
and you know what?
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Oh,
Well,
the red pill is about developing new concepts. We are learning. We're a bunch of men out here observing and throwing stuff out. Hey, here's what I think. Here's my observations. Here's how I think it works. Now, critique me and let me know if you think it works differently than that, and we hash it out. And then hopefully we'll come to a consensus and we add to the red pill knowledge. This is the way it has worked since the beginning of the manosphere. And right now, the manosphere has changed because we don't have as many participants, because it used to be all in the forums and people used to write and think before they wrote. And now we just have a bunch of content creators on YouTube. And yeah, there's Substack and there is some writing going on. I understand that. But we're not getting as much participation in ideas from people as happened in the past.
Well,
So
I just
consequently, the idea generation is not as robust and as abundant as it was in the early days.
well, I think so. First of all, I think everyone knows that YouTube comment sections are not the same thing as forums. I mean, we participate reasonably actively in ours, small as it is. We can keep track of it, but the technical setup is just very difficult, very different, very much more difficult to work with. So, but the other thing is that, and I'm not going to say this is good or bad, but there has in the red pill space, there have become different kinds of content creators. Not all content creators are out here saying, "Oh yeah, my job is to come up with new ideas and new observations." Right? A lot of them, they're saying, "Oh well, we're more educators of what already is," and that's a different. You're going to build your content differently. You're going to use different formats. You're not going to have a forum. It's going to be a little less interactive because you're here to impart knowledge. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it isn't the halcyon days of forums and the free for all of anybody could come in and challenge an idea. Y- You know, and we say,
That's
look,
right.
go ahead.
Now, it may sound like I'm being critical. Please don't take it that way. I'm just observing that it's different now.
Yep.
So, I guess this is something that I do want. I hope somebody does some streams on this concept. Hey, tear it down, tear it apart, come up with something else, and let's work on this topic. And it's kind of an undeveloped area. Now, the forums were great. They had really limited market penetration.
Yes.
Now with YouTube, there's a lot of streamers out there. We are reaching a lot more people. Not not our
Yeah.
podcast
Not
here,
us
not our
specifically.
stream. We don't have that many, but in general, the viewership is way larger than it ever used to be. More people know about it now. So there are some great goods that have happened. It's different though. So yeah, we lost some aspects that I truly enjoyed. And Shu says that too. He misses those days because it was really intellectually stimulating. But downside of that, it was only the guys who loved that intellectual stimulation that participated there. Maybe that was why the idea generation seemed to happen pretty quickly. Because the guys who developed the foundational um, tenets of the red pill, they were smart men, very smart men, because they could observe and then articulate it to say, here's what I'm observing. And they could put it in concise terms. And then other people could say, yeah, I agree. Let's refine this. They didn't say it that way. But those kernels of thought and descriptions got refined. But it took a intelligent person, call it IQ, whatever. These were smart guys, looked at the problem and applied their intellect to it. And it wasn't a bunch of philosophers, wasn't a bunch of psychologists. It was just average men. Some had college degrees, some didn't. But it was just average, run of the mill, but higher than average intelligence men applying themselves to this problem of men and women relationships.
Well, it was average men, air quotes maybe, uh, but they had been hit with they had been blindsided really, and when you blindside an intelligent man, he's going to stop, think, and look around and go, okay, what just happened to me? Like, I hate to say it, but it was never going to be the average intelligence people who came up with these ideas. I'm sorry, but y'all didn't have the mental capacity to do it. It's the tyranny of intelligence. If you don't have it, you don't have it. I'm not trying to, I'm not trying to shit on these men, but the guys
Well,
who came up with this, the guys who came up with the stuff were smarter smarter than you. Whether or not you agree with Rollo or Thor on certain things, look, I've met Thor. The dude is whip smart, like, and he is far above average. What do you expect? It
well, innovators are always, maybe almost always, above average in some aspect. Could be raw intelligence, could be the ability to think differently, call it thinking outside the box, or visualize their thinking process, or add an element from a different area of study into this problem. It's something from the outside that comes in, and it's thought about and it's applied. And yeah, it's the innovators are they're the outliers.
Well, there's another thing that higher than average intelligence gives you. Most people of higher than average intelligence are going to be able to interrupt emotional thinking faster. They're going to see it and understand it in themselves quicker. And they're going to go, hey, wait a minute. I need to stop and think, not just continue reacting. I'm not saying it's perfect. I just, that's why I use the word faster. They're going to be able to stop the cycle faster. And I just had a thought here, Steve. What if the difference is between intelligent men is that they can stop the cycle sooner and redirect to, okay, how are we going to solve this beef? How are we going to deal with it? Because, when Thor comes out and says, oh, well, you just don't deal with it. I go, well, yeah, that's a pretty obvious solution, but it's really hard to see when you're in the thick of it with somebody, you know?
Okay. That's great insight. But Thor, how do you stop doing that? Okay, now in his mind, it's clear, but he's not focused his mind on how do you stop. What things do you actually stop? Have you thought through the process and the cycle? Where can you stop it? Now, I'm sure if you pose those questions to Thor, he would come up with some ideas, but he has not pondered that in his mind. It's like that old Bob Newhart skit where the lady comes in with problems and he has a solution. 2 words. Stop it. Stop it. That's a psychologist. That was his solution to everything. Well, I'm dwelling about this and that, worried about that. He says, I have the solution. Stop it.
And,
and,
I mean, to be fair to
beautifully simple.
And to be fair to Mr. Newhart, it is probably actually not possible to come up with a bigger, like a more in-depth definition of the solution, because at the end of the day, you just have to stop it. What I think one of the differences between men and women in this spiral is that men being less given to emotional thinking are more likely to be able to step back and go, "Oh, wait a minute, I'm being a douche, you know? I should stop it. I should stop this and try to do something else." So, I mean, because we can go back to women launch, what, 70-75% of divorces, 70 to 80, somewhere in there, right? Well,
Right.
what what we're really maybe what we're really saying is that they never stopped it. They never stopped the criticism, they never stopped the justifications, and they never stopped the rationalizations.
I don't. I think you're onto something here, because if you look at relationships between two women, when it breaks down, it's pretty much done. I mean, it's done.
Yep.
And okay, all this went on, and neither didn't stop it. Both of them actually have to stop it. But with men, you get into some big kerfuffle, some drama, some beef with other men. It doesn't always get resolved. But if one person stops it, then over time, the other person will say, okay, they'll stop it. And they can actually go back and work together again. Maybe not as close, but they can
Right.
kind of patch things up and move on. That doesn't happen with women. And in these nasty divorces where the man is just taken to the ringer, he may not take her back, but he'd just say, you know what? We could just stop our beefing and all this bullshit and just, okay, what's in the past is in the past. Now we just have to get along well enough to make things work, handing off the children and this and that. But no, she can't stop it. He continues to spiral and to make his life miserable. So men do have a greater ability to stop it.
Absolutely agree. And I think the other thing that we need to talk about in this cycle is other people feed into it. Uh, so the silver bullet divorce strategy is a strategy that's primarily recommended by who? Oh yeah, other female divorce lawyers. The woman in the middle of this cycle, she's probably not thinking very rationally about the most devastating way to take out the man. But if somebody else comes alongside her and says, well, if you just say this and that, I can get you all this extra stuff. And if you map that onto, let's say, creator beefing, the audience of the audiences of the creators who are beefing come alongside the creators and they egg them on because they see, they're emotionally invested and they're not part of the spiral. They provide a justification or a rationalization, but they provide it. They're not a part of it, but they feed into it. They say, "Oh, well, here's, like, did you see this? Here's another reason why you're just in doing this." Is that
I agree. What are they doing? Criticizing,
mhm.
justifying the actions, and rationalizing. The sides of that triangle. That's what the cheerleaders are doing.
Right. And the the correlation here is that from an emotional standpoint, it is to the creator's rational benefit to participate in the beef because people show up for beef. They show up for drama. I mean, we love reality TV. What was it? Jerry Springer is kind of a meme now, right? And me personally, I think that we need to avoid the Jerry Springerization of the red pill space. Oh, here. This is a great comment. Even evangelical Dave Ramsey is a personal drama network. Now, Stu, you are beyond right here. His TV show is kind of turned into a, you know, woe is me. Here's my horrible story. It's really more of a therapy struggle session
I've never
because
watched
it sells. Oh, he used to do some okay financial advice. Not great, just okay.
Oh yeah, I know his stuff from back in the day. It was simple. It was effective. It promoted some self-discipline to people.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't necessarily profound.
Mm-hmm.
It was common sense, but it instilled discipline. And if you did it, you would be better off.
Yes.
But it was simple enough that the average people could get it. And with self-discipline, they could apply it. And they could get themselves out of situations if they persevered at it. So yeah, okay, he had a simple message, and it worked. And I have not watched his TV show or any of his more recent content, but I would imagine you could stir up people emotionally and get people cheering on your side by showing how stupid other people are.
Right.
And then I can look at them and say, oh, gee, I'm glad I'm not that stupid. And then cheer for yourself.
Oh,
And then I'm going to watch them tomorrow so I can find out how I can be better than these other idiots.
So what you're saying is that by participating in somebody else's divorce spiral over here, I guess we could call it, you can participate in your own holier than thou version of a purity test. Well, I'm not this bad.
I'm so, Lord, I'm so glad I'm not as bad as that sinner over there.
Right. And I think that for people participating in this death spiral, divorce spiral, whatever you want to call it, I think that's the draw. I think when a female lawyer goes to a female client and says, here, just say this, they feel that they are righting a wrong. Yeah, their means might be a little excessive, and I'm sure they tell themselves they're just bending the truth a little bit. Tell me
for the greater good.
Yeah, exactly.
They're bending the truth for the greater good.
Right.
So it's justified.
Exactly. And then they can say, well, I did something for the greater good, so that makes me a good person. And if you want to go
wrongs do make a right.
In the mind of the divorce lawyer, sure, fine, whatever, you're wrong. But okay, so apply that over to the creator side. That's much more, the whole audience gets to say, aha, we are more pure because we have picked the more pure side of this beef.
And whatever you have to do, we all know that old adage, the ends justify the means, right?
Mm-hmm.
Wait, it's the other way around. The ends don't justify the means.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well,
one other thing I wrote to my ex-wife is, I would rather suffer a moral defeat, rather than an immoral victory. Okay, well, at least I was smart enough to identify that, which which brought me some peace going through the process because I knew I would, not going to go. It's not going to be fair. It's I'm going to feel slighted, or whatever. You know how it goes. But that's a good message for other men too. Do you really want an immoral victory? Do you want to go down to the level of the lies and slander and all that to make her look bad just so you can win? Just so you can level the playing field. Is that a good idea?
Well, I would say,
no, I'm throwing out the question here.
I think that's a question that each man has to ask themselves. And my observation would be that's emotional thinking. And if you go down there to their level, they are going to beat you with experience. Because I can tell you right now, men, you do not have the level of experience that women have with this cycle, particularly with emotional thinking. They are going to wreck you. So you can think that you're going to go down to their level, get that victory at all costs. The odds are not in your favor. And we're supposed to be the rational side of the species. So
yeah, well, okay. Alana says they will beat you with emotions. Yes, but they're not your only opponent. If she can be emotional, other people will sympathize with her, both men
correct.
and women.
Correct.
So if you do the same kind of stuff she does, they're not going to feel sorry for you. They're not going to be on your side. They're going to think you're being mean and vindictive. And then it'll turn them against you. He can actually use emotionality and sob stories in her favor. You don't have the ability to use it because no one gives a shit about how a man feels. And you can't use facts because her emotions trump your facts. So, you know what? It's a pretty rare thing that a man can be devious enough to actually come out ahead.
I know Nick's not here, but I think if he was, he'd agree with this on the basis of his own story.
Good luck, guys.
Nick would have been a good person to have in here. But now, okay, and your divorce, it wasn't nasty like Nick and I
Mine,
have.
no, it wasn't.
But in the causes of your divorce, well, if Nick is here, do you want to add anything now, Nick, or do you want us to keep going?
Yeah. Beware the sisterhood. They get advice from church ladies, they get advice from their nasty friends, and they all know the stories. They don't, for some reason, that you tend not to hear it as a man, but they know, or they'll make sure somehow the other person knows, and they start plotting. They start their plans and figure out how to give you the silver bullet before you even know it hits you.
So, Nick, going through this cycle, does it make sense to you? Do you think this describes what's going on?
Oh yeah, more or less. I mean, the emotional thinking, sure, the criticism, rebellion, justification, rationalization, yeah. But if you have contempt, I think you're pretty much done in this day and age. So because there's no rational thinking at that point. Usually, there tends not to be any rational thinking on a woman's part at that point. She already wants an out, and that's more. Her feelings are more real to her than her commitment. So.
I won't disagree with that. Contempt is it's a very corrosive emotion, but it also is a very uh, it's a very powerful just emotional feeling when it hate is contempt can actually give way to disgust, and disgust is almost just another word for hate. If you go far enough down this cycle and you build up enough contempt, you will hate the other person, and you can wind yourself up into hating a person with for over nothing. And so, we were talking a couple weeks ago about how women do in fact have agency. And you hear these stories about these guys who got divorced out of nowhere and it hits them like a lightning bolt. I would submit that this cycle is how the woman got there. She didn't need a whole lot of externality because emotional thinking is a sufficient starting point. She's thinking emotionally, she starts criticizing, she enters rebellion, she justifies it, and then the contempt starts to build and around she goes because she has seen something that has triggered an emotion, and that triggers a criticism, right? And you could say, oh, well, then, as a guy, you failed if you didn't do that thing, but you don't know what it is, and she's not going to tell you. And it could be the dumbest stuff. Women get divorced for the dumbest of reasons.
Now let's talk about the bystanders. You remember back when you were a little kid on the playground?
Mm-hmm.
The what was that carousel thing where it had the bars on it, and you'd stand and it spun around in a circle?
Merry-go-round?
Merry-go-round? Yeah, I guess. So you'd get, 2, 3 kids on there. How did you start it? Ooh, someone grabbed the bars and ran
Roundabout,
around in a
yeah,
circle on
merry-go-round,
the
yeah.
outside. Okay, to get it going. But pretty
Oh, yeah.
soon they couldn't run that fast. So they would stop running. And then as the thing went by, they would just give it a push. And they pushed it, and you could get it going really fast. Well, that is the bystanders. That's the sisterhood. They just keep pushing that and get it spinning faster and faster and faster. They keep adding energy.
That's the oh girl, we knew he wasn't we know he's he was never good for you, or they hear the story and they go, oh sister, you got to get out, he's horrible, we didn't know.
But that's the same thing in the beefs in the creator space. The energy comes in from the criticism, the justification, the rationalization, the drama, the comments from people that keep spiraling it up. They add fuel to the beef.
By the way, Elena, no, I don't think it helps because women are not very capable of being objective.
Women don't understand statistics. I told this to Nick this morning.
Called home math.
Elena, yeah, he said it's home math. Okay, so it's a simple analogy. Man is thirsty. You give him a glass half full of water. And he goes, damn, this looks pretty good. I think I'll keep this, and he can drink from it. You give a woman a half full glass of water, she's disappointed because it's half empty. He wants a full glass of water. No, I think I'll send this one back. I'll wait for the full glass of water. And so, yeah, women always aspire to the better man. Oh, the delusional calculator. Oh, my man is only as good as 80% of other men. That means 20% of men. There's 20% of men out there that are better. I want the full glass of water. So they
Steve.
keep pursuing this full glass of water.
Steve, did you just say that the delusion calculator actually enforces female delusions and beliefs that they can get an even better man because, hey, my man's only in the top 80%?
That's the implications of what I said.
Okay.
Yes. You're going to the implications. So you're going to take credit for saying that.
Oh,
I'll give you the credit.
So yeah, so if the delusion calculator people come after somebody, they should come after me, huh?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not okay.
But they're telling
that
the
was
truth.
well.
It's a matter of perspective. Are you looking from the top down or the bottom up?
Well, the delusion calculator kind of strikes me as one of those things where men they actually want to sort of overthink this stuff. Now, I don't know that the delusion calculator was written to convince women or to demonstrate to men, because its initial use was the women would put it in on Fresh and Fit, and then they would get the number out, and then they'd laugh at how delusional the women were. And so, I don't know that it was really ever intended to be a tool to convince women of their own delusion. Now,
I think it was because men are always looking to convince women with facts. But in all your observations of the use of the delusional calculator, has it ever convinced a woman that she's delusional?
no.
No. Okay. That's thinking back. I agree with you.
I don't actually. I've gotten to the point with women in general where I view trying to convince them of their delusion as wasted effort I could spend doing any number of far more productive and societally beneficial activities. Women are just, pardon my French, fucking nuts, and they're going to stay that way. And men, it's better not to try. Like, you will not spreadsheet your way to success with women. And
Tried. It didn't work.
well, and with Elena,
every smart man has tried that, Nick.
That's yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
If I only come up with good enough facts, I can actually show her where she's wrong. Now you can all laugh at me.
We've all done it. We've all been there.
Yeah.
But every man does that. And then when it doesn't work, okay, that's the inspiration for some of these men to go, okay, let's think this through. Let me dig into the details. Okay, now the women won't care about the details I dig into. But maybe some other man can. And maybe if I'm got most of it right, he can add something to it and correct it, and we can come up with a solution here. Well, that's what we're doing here tonight. We're throwing out some new ideas. And yeah, we want people to engage with us, criticize. You want to come up with something competing, you want to debate it. Yeah, that would be fun because we are in pursuit of greater understanding. And that comes from discussions and debate and some disagreement and analysis and dissection and all kinds of things that men like to do.
Well, and you don't have to debate us on just this topic. If you want to debate us, just drop a comment on whatever video has the topic you want to debate us on. We'd love to have you on. You will have to come on to StreamYard. We do not require cameras, so you can be just a disembodied voice like Nick and I are today. But yeah, if you want if you saw something you didn't like in one of our prior videos or this video and you want to debate us on it, drop us a comment. We'd be happy to bring you on and talk about it.
And we're not out to win the debate. It's more of a exploration and discussion. Yeah, we'll push back. Yeah, we'll hash it out. But it's not about winning. If you got good ideas, hey, we're happy to be critiqued and be corrected. But, it's kind of a team effort that happens through discussion. And it can lead to a bit of debate, but it's not Bloodsport debate. I'm not into that. I probably could do it, but I have no desire to do that kind.
My opinion of Bloodsport debate is that the ideas tend to get lost in the drive to win, the drive to defeat your opponent. And I know people complain about, they say, oh, well, we're just trying to, intellectualize the red pill. No, I don't think we are. I think what we're trying to do is prod the space, take the ideas, stretch them, see if there's ideas that we've missed or maybe we haven't fully fleshed out. And, because we are here to try to help men. And if you have an incomplete idea, I've seen this happen, a man will get blown up because of something that we didn't see and we didn't talk about because we didn't see it. And then they get mad at us for not telling them about it. I didn't say it was fair. I just, that's just kind of how people are. So, I mean, Bloodsport debate is fun, but I don't see the value in it as a standalone thing.
Well, I'm not going to go that far. There is value in it.
Okay.
I'm not against any Bloodsport debate. It serves its purpose. Everything serves its purpose. That type of thing does gain certain followers, but that's not the only way to do it. It's not my way. I have no critique or criticism for those that choose to go that way. That's their mission, not my mission.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with developing ideas and thinking about things. I mean, we do have brains. We're given them to think, and sure, we're not going to think of every single detail that could ever possibly happen to a man.
No,
but with knowledge has come. You can actually react to such knowledge. For whatever situation you find yourself in with a woman or in life, at least you have the knowledge you can do something with it.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I liked about tonight. I don't know if this is right or probably not even complete, but I think it's a step down a path. Okay. I'm going to rephrase this.
Okay.
There is a in the human condition, we tend to go as far as we need to do to get an adequate explanation and then no further, or a sufficient explanation to explain my personal situation, and then we take it no further. So we come up with words, and we use container words like hypergamy. We opened with that, and then we try to pour all this stuff into them. but this spiral over here does not require hypergamy.
No, it
It
doesn't.
just right. And this spiral could
But-
be enough to trigger a divorce.
But let me tell you this. Is hypergamy is it outside of the cycle? Now let me ask you this, Plutarch, because now it's where your divorce comes in. Infidelity.
Okay.
A woman's unfaithful to you. And hooks up with another guy. Is she in rebellion to your authority? I don't think so. Does she have a certain level of contempt for you? Well, it's certainly not respect. Is she rationally thinking or emotionally thinking?
In my
And then is
case,
she justifying what she's doing and rationalizing why she did it? I mean, how many of these things apply maybe on a lesser intensity level? But what do
yeah.
you think?
Based on the conversations that I had both with her and with those around us, I mean, the criticism stuff that came up in the therapy sessions, and I've talked about that before. It's 3 therapy sessions of everything I ever did wrong. Okay. So that was there. The rebellion was there, and she was proud of her rebellious nature in general, which in retrospect, of course, was a massive red flag. I did not get the sense that there was a whole lot of contempt, because this was not so much about the things that I was or was not doing. Those things were justification for I had an emotional connection with another guy and I wanted to explore that. And I have actually had mutual friends tell me that that's what was going on. She just found an emotional connection with another guy. And look, this is a girl who had a large number of bodies on her. This is part of the reason we say
Okay,
don't.
well, you say the contempt wasn't there. Maybe it wasn't overt contempt. Oh, let me throw this out there. There wasn't a respect for you as her husband.
Yeah.
No, I can't go there. So lack of respect is low level contempt. It may not be
Yeah.
apparent.
Right. The contempt was not.
It may
I guess
not rise to the level.
right.
that
I
we
guess
would
what I'm trying to
recognize it
say.
as contempt.
I guess what I'm trying to say is that the contempt was not the driver of this. The contempt was the emotional thing, or the driver of this was the emotional thinking. And the emotions led to the rebellion, and the contempt sort of became the result of the justification of the rebellion. But it was never the primary driver of what sent her off on that path. Does that
Okay.
like it was there, and it
that's
showed
fair
up
enough.
in there. It was there. It showed up in therapy, but not that much. I don't think, and the other part of the reason I don't think contempt was the primary driver was because she didn't fight me that hard on the divorce. She more wanted out to be with the other guy than it was about taking me to the cleaners.
Okay. Well, fair enough. I mean, I think this is a good place to close. Let me give some closing thoughts. You come up with a theory, and just to expect that it's going to match 100% of all the occurrences, that's sheer folly. It's just no, nothing. There's exceptions to everything, but what we can possibly glean from this is think about these words to go around the circle and see if they apply to you, or that if you're feeling them or perceiving them, from a woman, or even in yourself if you're in a beef with your spouse or another man. Just be aware. And maybe it can add some insight. Maybe you can come up with your own theory, or maybe you can understand what's happening to you by realizing these things. Maybe your cycle is different than this. But I think it's effective. Now, I want to draw a distinction between what our discussion here is about this cycle versus John Gottman's 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, which was criticism and contempt. And then the derivatives of that is defensiveness and stonewalling. Those were just 4 events. It didn't really go into a cycle. It wasn't quite as well developed. It's actually simpler and easier to understand. But this is again, I'm saying this builds upon what he did, which is good. And I learned a lot from that. But a lot of this stuff, the emotional thinking, rationalization, I guess that comes from the being involved in the red pill. Criticism, well, yeah, okay, that's Gottman. The justification and rebellion, those kind of come from my Christian background. So this is an amalgamation of Gottman, red pill, and Christian. So, that's how I got here.
Well, I mean, that exercise right at the end with my divorce, I think points to something that when we try to oversimplify things, we run the risk of creating things like container words, like hypergamy. Because the exercise that we went through with my divorce, it's like, oh, okay, but these different stages of the spiral had different impacts. The one was very clearly front and center, in it was obvious to everyone around us that was what was going on, and it can lead to the other two. But and maybe for some women, there's a huge amount of contempt over, let's say, a guy loses his job or a guy gets fat, right? And they just can't, and so they get emotionally tied up into this hatred of this guy now. Or maybe they have women in their lives that are inciting them to rebellion, and that then drives the contempt, or they use emotional thinking, right? The Just because we're showing a cycle doesn't mean that it's going to hit all areas of that cycle equally. We're not Spurgs here. We're not we're
Speak
not
for yourself.
Well, Steve, if you're on the spectrum, I can't help you there. But and the other thing, of course, is to remember is that this stuff is not for women. I mean, women, I'm sure, watch this stream. My wife is right now, but this is for men to understand what's happening when you're beefing, be it with your wife, with another man, with family, and understand that there are going to be different components of it that are in the driver's seat of what's causing this. So, yeah, I would say don't try and take this too literally. We're not Spurgs. We're not trying to sit here and say we have all of the answers and that this is complete. As I said, if you want to come on and debate us, you think we missed something, or we have that one of these things is wrong, and you want to come on and tell us how we're wrong, we are happy to listen. We probably won't do a blood sport style on you, although, speaking for myself, I don't know about you, Steve. I tend to defend the ideas that I've come up with pretty vociferously.
Yeah, I can do that too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just hear text messages. They're fun.
Yeah. Nick will tell you on the back end that I can be a bit of a handful sometimes.
Hey, I give it. We. It's a give it,
Hey,
but it's
it's
not personal. So
right, and it's all in, good taste, good spirits, and we genuinely mean well when we're going at each other. So yeah, we will. What I'd say is we will treat you with dignity and respect, although we might destroy your idea in the process.
Hey, and you can try and destroy our idea too. Hey,
Yep.
that's the fun of it.
Yeah, you should. Yeah, if I wouldn't be in this if we weren't having fun, and we are having a lot of
Well,
fun on.
and we've said this before. Okay, we are here to educate people, but even a bigger objective of ours is to provide some things to cause other men to think. If if there's something here that causes you to think, even if you think we're wrong, hey, we succeeded because you're thinking. You're thinking about something you wouldn't have thought about. You hadn't watched this stream, and you're challenging what's going on in your brain, even if you disagree.
Yeah.
That's good.
Well, I think that's it for this evening.
Yeah.
Look, if you like what you saw, like the smash button, as Will says. If you have a comment, think we're wrong, want to get on, debate us, drop it down below. We do pay attention to that stuff. And if you like the idea, please spread it around, share it. The idea here, as Steve said, is to educate. And so, hey, one way, maybe you don't have an idea with it, but maybe somebody you share it with does have a problem with what we said, and they can come on and they can debate us. We're open to that too. So yeah, please like, share. If you want to see more, if you like the general direction we're headed, please subscribe. And we will continue to do more of this. We are. I mean, speaking for Nick and myself, I don't know as much about Steve, but we're fighters, but we want to use ideas. We want to fight in the space of ideas. So we are always trying to come up with new ideas. We're always trying to uh, challenge each other. And honestly, this particular stream, I know, Steve, that you'd created this chart before, but I think this particular stream meshes very well with the concept of female agency that we've been talking about a lot lately, because this chart demonstrates that it is quite possible for a woman to, entirely of her own volition, push herself into a divorce.
I think so. And I think it's very helpful to actually develop this area of thought, because this area of what's going on in the mind of a woman when she chooses to divorce is something that the red pill is not previously focused on. This is kind of a new area of exploration and development. And we do need to, I invite the other creators and anybody else to chime in on this. Let's develop this area.
Yeah, I've been enjoying it. Well, Nick, if you're still around, I see you're muted. If you're still around, if you have any final thoughts, drop them in here. Otherwise, we will go ahead and wrap it up. His kids must be
Okay.
loud. And,
You
oh
guys,
no!
please
Hey.
like and please like and subscribe. Yeah, women have agency. Yeah, there's some things that you can do, and there's some crap you can't do. Sometimes you just get screwed. Sometimes not.
Yep.
It's
All
more
right.
than
Well,
way that the cookie can crumble, or whatever you call it.
all
All
right.
right.
Well, then I think we will go ahead and wrap it up. So I don't know that we know what we're going to do on Wednesday yet. I haven't seen anything in the background chat. Steve or Nick, did you want to talk about what we're going to do next Monday, or do you kind of want to leave it as a tease? Because I know, Nick, you really want to talk about this.
It was really Steve's idea.
I was focused. Sometimes I forget what I thought about.
Well,
Uh-oh.
what's the real problem? What's the real problem, Steve?
Oh yeah, Steve. What's the real problem? Do we want to talk about that, or do we want to leave that as a tease for the audience out there about what we're going to do next week?
I don't know. Do enough people tune in that the tease works, or do they just tune in regardless?
Well, the metrics kind of say they tune in regardless. So
Okay, well then we'll leave it a secret.
okay. So next Monday, we have a plan, but we're going to leave it as y'all are going to have to show up. For this Wednesday, we don't have anything. We'll figure it out. We will. Next Wednesday, George Bruno actually asked if we could discuss AI and relationships and what our views of what that could look like going forward, good, bad. I'm sure Nick will have much to say on the subject from a Christian standpoint. I have a lot to say on it from a data driven standpoint, demographics and what it means for the future of, things like childbirth. So we are very grateful to George for prompting us with that idea. So that's going to be, so that'll be the 14th. So not this Wednesday, but Wednesday next week.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's what we have on the docket. It's going to be a busy couple of weeks, particularly once we get Nick back. He's raring to go on a couple of things for you guys too. That'll be even after that. So yeah, with that, we will see you all on Wednesday.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.